Okay, so let's create a new file here and we'll build this from scratch. I'm just going to go File, New. And again, I'm going to use the naming convention that I want you to use, your last name, underscore lesson number. In this case, it's 8B. And I want it to be iPhone 5 landscape. So very importantly, iPhone 5 landscape. Click Resolution Independence, Create Project, and actually do a save right away. So I can locate this on my computer. And I do have a folder here for these guys, GameSalad exercises, and I'll keep the same file name and save. Now it exists. Okay, so I think just to take care of business, I know I have to import some actors here, or rather some graphics for my Walking Man actor, so I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to go to my Media tab, Add Assets, and I do have a folder on my desktop that you will be downloading as well. And I've got 4 sets of walking motion for the actor and 1 still graphic for the touchpad. So just grab all of those and import them. You can see them all here, and they are named walk cycle, which is the up motion, and then walk left, walk right, and walk towards. So towards is down, walk cycle is up, left and right, self-explanatory, and we got the little graphic of the touchscreen pad, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And now I got all my bits that I need for this. And I think I'm just going to start by creating the actor Walking Man and create some very simple keyboard motion. I'm going to use the velocity for this. Okay, so let's go to our actors, create an actor, and I'll call it Walking Man. Not Wailing Man, but Walking Man. Okay, it can have more than 1 word. And I will attach a behavior to this, but I'll just drag him to the stage. Let me go to my attributes right now here. And I'm just going to check the size. It says 120 by 120. I think I'll bring it down to 100 by 100. Okay, and I'll drag that to the stage. All right, so we'll just give it some motion now. I'm going to add a rule here, so a new rule. And I guess the first motion I'll use is the right motion. So we'll go key. Which key? I'm going to click my right key. So when right key is down, do the following. I'm going to raise this guy up here a bit. I want to change an attribute. CH, change attribute. Change attribute. So which attribute? Let's go in here and we say we want to set the linear velocity, which is the x-axis of the actor. So the actor is named Walking Man. That is under motion. Linear velocity, double click on X. So I want to set the linear velocity to, I'm going to say 50. Through trial and error, I determined that 50 was a pretty good speed. And just hit my tab key to enter that and save it. And I can do a very quick test. So let's do a quick test here now. So if I hit my right arrow, it should go. But I'm releasing the arrow and it's actually continuing to go. So let's address that immediately. Because we are setting something in motion using the velocity attribute, and there's no friction or nothing to stop it here, it will basically go forever. Unless we say set it to 0 when these conditions are not being met. So that would be under the else. So again, I will add a change attribute. So I'm going to change the same attribute, but set it to 0. So attributes, Walking Man, motion, linear velocity, X set to 0. Okay. Hit my tab key and save that and test it. So save and play. All right, hit my right arrow key now, and when I let go, it did stop. Perfect. All right, so that's the basic motion. So let's add some animation to that guy moving to the right. So we'll also put that in the do, and I guess I could shortcut it here, or I can do a drag. Just to mix it up, I'll go to my Behaviors tab and look for the Animate behavior. Now I need to be careful where I drag this, and that's why maybe the shortcuts might be better. And what I want to do is I want to put the 9 frames of this guy walking towards the right side. So we have walk right down here. And if you need to give yourself more space, just drag your attributes tab down. But I can see walk right starts here, and it goes up from 01 to 09. So I'm holding my shift key down, clicking on the whole set. Then I click and drag that set into here. And I can just sort of scroll through here, and it looks like he's walking. It probably works. Let's just check that now quickly. All right, so when I hit the right key, there we go. And when I release, it's back to this. So I'm going to put a little picture of the man in there just so it's a little less, if the user was using this like this, that's a little disturbing when he turns back into a white box. So let me drag this up a bit further here. And this would go also in the else category. So I'm just going to, it's called a change image. So if I go up to my behaviors, I could actually drag the image straight into that as a shortcut. I'll show you where the change image is, but I'll do that as a shortcut. So the change image. So if I was to go to my library, and let's see, walk right. I'm going to use the last one, walk right 09. And anyhow, if you had to do it manually, change image, and then you can select from your long list of graphics that are in your library. But let me just demonstrate that now. Hit play, and first of all, you don't see the white box anymore, right? So he just stops like that. Now the only problem is when I go in the other directions, I will have to change that as well. Okay. But what you see here is basically the same for each and every direction for the keyboard press. Make sure I've saved this. So I've got the walk right. I'll do the up because that's a different direction, if you will. So I'll start a new one in the up. All right, so let me just collapse these guys. So I'm going to change this rule to move right. Or not change the rule, but the name rather, and collapse that. All right, so I will start a brand new rule, and we'll just add a rule here. And I'll actually change this name immediately to move up. Okay. And the conditions will be a keyboard key. And I'll hit my up arrow key to input that. And the do will be a change behavior. I'm going to use my shortcuts here. Change attribute, rather. I'm sorry. Change attribute. Which attribute? The motion attribute of the actor called Walking Man. Here's Walking Man. Motion, linear velocity. Now this is up and down, so it's the y-axis. And I also want to set that to 50. They will all be set consistently to 50. Hit my tab key to enter that. And as we know, we do need to stop it or it will go forever. So I'm going to add in the else section another change attribute. I suppose I could have duplicated that with an alt click and drag and set that to 0, but I'll do it the long way. Set which attribute? The Walking Man's motion attribute, linear velocity to 0. Okay, let me just hit my tab key, save it, and do a quick test on that. I haven't done the animate yet, but I'll just test that the motion's working. Okay, so I know that the right worked, and up works too. Okay, so it does work, so let's animate that now. So under the do, I'll just type in animate here. And we'll drag in the walk up, which is the one's called walk cycle. So it's walk cycle 01 to 09. Click and drag that group over here. Save it and test it one more time. Actually, before I test, I know under the else window, I'm going to do a change image. This time I'll actually use the shortcut change image. And which image? This is walk cycle, so I'll choose walk cycle number 9. Okay, so when he stops walking, he will default to that image. All right, let me just save that as well and give that a quick test. Okay, so I'm walking right, he stops looking in that direction. I'm walking up, he stops and he stays looking in that direction. There we go. So that is for the touch screen. Sorry, that is for the keyboard buttons on your keyboard. Now we're going to deal with touchscreen. So I will introduce, I'm going to drag this guy down here, the pad to the stage area. So let's go back to actors here, and I'll create a new actor, and I'll call it touchpad. Okay, and drag my attributes up here. We'll add the image VitaPad. Let me just see how big that is. I may delete it and put it back. I could live with that, I guess. I'm going to leave it at that size, and I'll just leave it there. I know it seems big, but it's okay for what we're doing today. So we'll just leave that on the stage like that. Again, I will save that. And I need to make a new actor now, which will be an invisible box that goes over these. And that's what we will actually be triggering your response with. So let's add one more actor. We'll call it invisible button. Okay, invisible button. Now I'm going to duplicate it 4 times on the screen, and we're going to program the instances on the screen separately. But I want to just get that out here right now and size it up. Okay, and just position that there. And go down the graphics here and uncheck visible. There we go. You actually can't see it in your preview here. Let's hit play just to make sure. Okay, so that's working now. So what I want to do though is I actually want to break this on the stage. So I'm going to go here. And this, I actually access this tab by clicking it on the stage, and that brings up the new tab here. Click the lock. All right, so I've broken it apart. We're not programming anything in the prototypes. They're all in the instances. And I'll complete one, and then I'll duplicate it so that I can simply change some of the settings later. So we want to create a new attribute for this. I'm going to click away on the screen for a second, go to my game, create a new attribute. New attribute, integer. And I'm going to call it move. I'll call it move direction. Just so it might be a little easier for you to comprehend what I'm doing here. Move direction in camel case, meaning all one word but uppercase for the second word there. It is set to default to 0, which is exactly what I'd like to do. So what I want to do is I want to change that number depending on which button gets engaged here. And based on that, we will add a condition to the walking man checking for that number and sending him in the appropriate direction. So let's start by, again, clicking on this guy on the stage, going to my instances, and now we will add a rule. Okay, so I'm just clicking on the new rule here, and what we're checking for is if the touch is inside, if you will. So I can go touch, and we want to check that it's inside. So very importantly, choose touch is inside. And then if it is, we're going to change the move direction value to 1. So under do, I'm going to do a change attribute. Change attribute. And what do I want to change? I want to change the game attribute. So under attributes, under game, I have a custom attribute that I called move direction. I double clicked it, and I'm going to change move direction to 1. Hit my tab key to enter that. So I'm saying 1 is for up, 2 is for the right, 3 is for down, and 4 is for the left. Now I want to set that back to 0 if my mouse is not inside of that invisible button area. So I'm just going to do a change attribute one more time under the else. Change attribute, which attribute? The movie attribute. Under game, the game attribute called move direction. Set it back to 0 and hit my tab key. Okay, so that's that part. Let me just save that and go back to my walking man, and now test that this will work. So now it's checking for the 1. Okay, so let me hit play, and if I click over here and start to drag, there we go. Now if I move out, it does disengage. So that totally works. I'm going to do one for the move right now. So let me close the move right in the walking man. We'll add the condition there and then change it from all to any. So I'm checking for an attribute. Attribute. And which attribute? The movie attribute. Or I keep saying movie. The game attribute called move direction. And if it is, and I said move right will be 2. If it's 2, do the following. Now, very importantly, once again, change all to any. Now, this is 2 steps. So now I need to go back and copy this invisible box over the right one and change some of the parameters inside of its behaviors. So let's go to the stage. I'm going to move this down a bit. Find that invisible button. I'm going to use the Alt click and drag to duplicate it. I let it go and then I'm going to position it over here. Ideally, these guys should not be overlapping each other. You can understand there may be conflicts if that happened. And since I duplicated it, let me go to the instance copy here and just change some of the parameters. Really, all I need to change is this number. I'm already checking that the touch is inside. I'm already setting the direction, or rather, not the direction, but the custom attribute called move direction to a number. So I'm just going to change that number to a 2. Hit my tab key to enter. And remember, in Walking Man, under the move right, we are checking that it's a 2. And if it is, it will execute the move right commands, if you will. Let me just save that before I test. Okay, and hit play. All right, so up works. I'm using my keyboard actually. Let me just click and drag over here. There we go. Now, when he leaves the stage, I want him to return on the other side. So let's deal with that. It's a whole nother sort of issue here. And that's a scene attribute. So let's quickly go down to scene. And it's called wrap X for horizontal and wrap Y for vertical. Once you have those checked, if an actor leaves the stage, it will return on the opposite side. So I'll save that and we'll just quickly test that as well. So I'll just have him move off the stage. There he goes. And there he comes. That's called the wrap. Okay, and again here, and you'll see him either walk behind or in front. So he's behind right now. If I wanted to change that, I could create a layer or move him around in the layers. I'm going to leave it as is, but stacking order is done in the layers. So it seems like this is totally working here. I'm just missing the touch screen controls for left and down. So I'll duplicate the move right to start with. Alt click and drag. And I'll call that move left because we're working with the X axis on these ones. So I'll call this move left. Now, what am I checking for? Well, first of all, let me change my keyboard presses. So I'll hit the left key. Okay. And I'm checking that I said left would be number 4. So we'll change that to 4. So I changed the key being pressed. I changed the number that it's checking on. And now under the motions, under do, I will change the animation as well and the direction. So the direction I'll start with, it's set to 50. Positive numbers move to the right, negative numbers move to the left. So I'll insert a minus symbol in front of that 50, hit my tab key, and I think I can select all of these. Let's see if I select there and shift click, I can delete them and then reintroduce the new ones. So these are for walk left. Let me just move this guy down a bit. Okay, walk left 01 through 09, and then drag those guys over in here. And let's just check the else. The else should be okay because it's just setting the velocity back to 0 on the X axis. So I'll do a quick save for that and a test. Actually, you know what? I still need to create my touchpad, so I won't test it just yet. I'll duplicate this guy here, Alt click and drag, moving to the left, carefully positioning it, and then I'll change some of these. So again, I'm looking for a touchscreen inside. I do not have to change that. I'm changing the number here, and this was for number 4. So that will change the move direction attribute to a 4. And the else doesn't need to change because that just sets it back to 0. So it should be able to work now. I've set the touch button, and the walking man has been set up also to respond to that number change. So let's do a save and a test. So play. So we'll try that again. Okay, there we go. And there we go. Okay. And you can see as he moves out of the scene, he does wrap back in. So I have one more button to do, which is to set the down motion. So I'll take that, and again, I'll hold my Alt key down. I'll click on there. I can see the plus sign. I'm paying more attention here. I'm just going to drag it away and then position it. Okay, there we go. So that one we're going to set to a 3. Remember, it's like the clock, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the down. I'm setting that to a 3. I don't have to change any other of the settings. So that's why it was efficient to do a copy on the stage. Now these are 4 different instances of the one actor called Invisible Button. Okay, and I do also have to go back to Invisible Man, or I'm sorry, Walking Man, and add one more behavior. Now this is for the down, so I'm going to duplicate the up because that's working on the y-axis. It's one less thing I have to change inside. Alt, click and drag. Change the name. Move up. Okay, and I'll change that number to a, I'm sorry, move up, move down. Yeah, move down. Move down and change this to a 3. 3 is the designated number for the downwards motion. And let's just go into the do. We do need to change the animation and the direction. I'll give that a negative number. Okay, move down is a negative number. And I'll highlight all of these graphics in here. I'm trying to move across with my shift key to select them all. Hit my delete key, and I'll replace those with him walking down. And that would be the walk towards, 0, 1. Shift click in my tab for my media items. Drag that group over into the animate window. And let me just change the behavior for the down, for the change image. I'm going to double check that on the others as well. This should be walk towards number 9. All right, I don't think I changed that on the last one. It's so subtle you might not have noticed it. I believe the move up is good, but let's just double check that. I'm going to close the do here, make some room. Sometimes these are a little hard to click on. And okay, that's the up is looking good. The move left, we'll check that. Just going to drag this down here. Yeah, so I'm going to change that to the move left icon. Walk left, 0, 9. And I think the right one is okay as well, because we did those early. But I will double check. It's prudent to check and test. But I believe if this is okay, and it is good that we are done here, but I'll do a quick test to make sure, because you're never done until you've done your full testing. So I'll move this stuff out of the way again. I will definitely save. And hopefully this is the last play to test that it all works. So I'll test the keys on the keyboard first. Up, and when I stop, he stays in that direction. Right, and again, when he stops, he stays in the direction. I'm just going to check the wrap again here. Okay, left. When he stops, he remains in that direction, and down. Okay, see, down. I messed something up, so let me just check that. This is why we test. Okay, so my down, for some reason, I messed something up in the down. And this down is 3, velocity y to minus 50. Animate else. Sorry, I need to see the whole thing here. To 0. Okay, I'm actually a little bit mystified why when I hit the, oh, I see why. Right here. It can be the most subtle thing, right? I have to hit the down arrow. There we go. So it was still set to the up arrow because I did a duplication. So you really need to pay attention when you're copying, but it can save time, of course. Through the testing, I caught it, though. And that testing is like a quality control filter. If you don't test often, you'll never be of much use to a shop, I hate to say it, but quality control is ultimately important. So let me just save that again. That might have been a bit harsh, but it's more true than not. Okay, hit play. Testing again. Testing 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Up, down. There we go. Okay. And now I will test the touchscreen by clicking my mouse and just dragging it across the 4 touchpads. And there we go. Okay. So everything seems good here. And when I move out, it does stop. And again, this is imitating touch screen controls. I can also drag in and out with my mouse pressed down. All right, so I want you to build one of these today as your lesson. And once again, zip up your project folder and upload it to the designated assignment on Blackboard. And that's your exercise for today.